Galactic, bringing you another science presentation in our synthetic series to wrap up science once and for all, so that we can call an end to everything, just finally reach the goal. There's a problem, though. There is no goal in science. Science has no destination, no sense of final solution. There is nothing in science that dictates where it goes, or indeed how it ends up. No, we're stuck with the same old, same old. You can do science all you want. It's a little cold here, so I apologize for this hat, but it does keep me warm. Oh yeah, it's got below freezing. I even let the cat in. You saw in the last lecture, the old tail went right by, just like in the old days, before I had to kick her out because I have asthma. But we're not going to go there today, because it's time to wrap up science and finally reach the end. Of course, that can only be for one person at a time. There's no such thing as science as such. It's not like, well, over there are the scientists, and they are going into heaven, and the rest of us are just left in hell. No, that's not how it works. Everything is divided. It's divided right down the middle, and it begins with you. You are two people at all times, and you have a choice of which one you want to be. It's not the good-evil split. You could think that way, but this is science, and good and evil do not have a metric, so all you can say is it kind of gets worse this way or better this way. That's not good enough for science. We need measurements. We need yes-no answers. We need on-off. We need true-false. Well, the binary split that we're given at birth, from the blueprint that goes back to the very first two human beings, and before that I'm not sure anybody can say a word. But as far as science goes, you can trace all of humanity back to the first two humans. And if that leads you back to the Bible, may God bless you and guide you on your way. Science can't really follow you where you're going with the Bible, unless you listen to me, since I'll tell you the truth about anything that has any rationality behind it, including the Bible. But the split that we are given at birth is between the emotional subsystem, which seems to define us as human beings, until later on you learn about your other onboard system, rational logic. Just regular propositional logic, syllogistic logic, binary logic. We have machine logic. We have the machines helping us now to figure out factual information so we can get knowledge, condense it to understanding, and move forward past understanding. This is where you can get a little tip from the wisdom books of the Bible. I certainly have, so I'll share that with you now. Bin. That's a Hebrew word from Proverbs. Bin. It means knowledge. The feminine form of that word is binah. Binah is translated understanding. That is accurate. I'm the expert on that subject. I'm the foremost Bible scholar, probably of all time. Not that that's going to help you, except to hear, you get to hear me crow and toot my own horn. Yeah, well, you know where that got me? Nowhere with anybody else. You're on your own. When you turn on your rational logic system, and it will turn on by itself, it's just a question of if you employ it or not. Well, your scientists out on the internet are faking it and leading everyone in exactly the wrong direction, whether passively or actively. No sense of understanding. No sense of the scientific process. Just fancy stories about black holes, dark matter, dark energy, expanding space, just pop gun universe, just black holes, just swallowing entire galaxies until there's endless nothing in this cryptogram of a quantum projection of super aliens that nobody can imagine, and that leads to endless laughter. Well, if that's what you want, you're certainly entitled to that. I partake of the bright side of life, the happy-go-lucky, let's make a joke, we're all from monkeys, space is expanding, sure, why not? Let's pretend we're listening to the scientists, because they're guiding us right to the stars. The manifest destiny of the super race of humans of the future is to get to the stars, meet the aliens. I pity you if that's what you're looking forward to. Because as soon as the first alien intelligence encounters us, or vice versa, that's the end of the human race. They'll find out where we came from, send all their fleets, and wipe this little monstrous dot out of the universe forever. Now, you may say that's going to happen anyway, Sam. In about 4 billion years, the sun is going to expand beyond the range of Jupiter, and the Earth is just going to be this hot little cinder just spiraling into its fiery doom. Yeah, well, that's 4 billion years in the future, so who cares? Well, in the meantime, guess what happens to your body? It's going to be well less than 4 billion years. You're going to find out, there's the edge of oblivion. There you go, another one gone. Well, that's already happened to approximately 8 billion humans. Where did they go? What were they here for? No, the only thing that matters now is the super race, so you need to spawn. Just get some porno, just watch some comedians, just attend some football games, play some poker, get drunk, pork your wench, and just make another Rugrat. And eventually we'll have star vehicles and go out and just infect the rest of the universe with our incessant warfare. Just our monstrous internal mechanisms just fabricating bullshit out of bullshit until we die. And you think you're going to another star? What if there's no ecology there? You're just going to dig in like Elon Musk is going to get us to dig in on Mars? Oh, there's the beginning of a new age. We've landed on a cryogenically frozen dust planet. And now, oh boy, that'll save us from ourselves. Sure it will. Wherever humans go, you know what follows? Dogs, alcohol, and gambling. Dogs, alcohol, and gambling. I could probably name a half a dozen other things, none of them good. But we do have one thing going for us. We've inherited a concept of love. So nobody ever asks where that comes from, unless you go into a church and then just shut the doors behind you, behind the stained glass windows. Well, it's as if you died. Oh, he's off with the God people. They know where they're going. They're going to heaven. Maybe. I doubt it, though, because every Sunday, Saturday, or any other day, they're passing the plate. Oh, we need your money. We hate people. We hate the Islam people. We hate the Protestants, the Catholics. We hate this group. We hate these people who do this. We hate. We need to do what God wants us to do and hate, hate, hate. Cough it up. Let's have the money. Otherwise, you're not helping Jesus or anybody else. Oh boy, what a happy-go-lucky planet we have to be born onto, yes? Well, there is good news, though. And I told you the good news in the last lecture. There is good news. Very good news. The only question is, are you ready for it? There is another question, though, which you would have to pose toward the one who's talking. Where the hell did you get your wisdom from? Why should I listen to you? You should not listen to me. You should not listen to any man unless that person is sharing the truth of the universe. Well, there's a tall order. Where did you get your truth of the universe from? It's called science. Now, science, of course, has the same pitfall as any other organized effort of man. Anything where there's more than one man involved, you're fucked. You're fucked. So you have to use your onboard system. Did you discover electricity? No. Did you discover that the sun does not go around the earth, but the earth is spinning? No. You never would have figured that out. You never would have found fusion energy. You never would have known anything about the atom, the quantum paradox, or anything that they're talking about in AI, about bringing robots to life. Well, all of these are just fascinating topics for the easily distracted, highly distractible, needful of some distraction, hoi polloi. You and I are just one of 16 billion. You and I, if you want to say both of us, that would be two, but still 2 against 8.1 billion people. Oh, that makes me important, right? You better listen to me. Why? Why would I have anything more to say than any other man? In other words, why am I doing this? I'm already warning you, don't listen to anybody, no matter how big their hat is. So why would you? Because science is cumulative knowledge. Remember, that's been. So the more knowledge we get, the more ability we get, the more capacity we get as a race, any part thereof, who gloms onto science, now has access to more information than you were born with. The only information we're born with is basically look at mommy and try to get some milk and hope you can survive the next colic attack. You know, you're pooping in your pants, you're totally helpless, you can't even hold your head up. But you get to be 5 years old, you learn the alphabet. You get to be 10 years old, you learn you're from a monkey. You get to be 15 years old, you learn that space is expanding into anti-space. You get to be 20 years old, you find out the robots are coming to life. And then, you know, you learn about the quantum paradox and just spend your next 30 years of your life just listening to men argue about that as if they actually knew what they were talking about, which I guarantee you not one of them does know, because there's a sequence that you have to follow if you're going to use your rational mind. Remember, you have two minds. One of them is just under the influence of pain, pleasure, all kinds of spectrums of joy, peace, or what's the opposite of joy? What's the opposite of peace? That's normal life, road rage. You hate your boss, you hate your job, you hate your family, you hate this, you hate that. You're always reacting. It's like Henry Miller said, you're like one of those rock'em sock'em dolls that's never quite upright. You're being pushed this way by the gays. You're being pushed this and that way by politics. Some religious thing gets you, and now you're rocking around, trying to get some sleep, try to get enough food and rest, pay your rent, and meanwhile figure out the universe and who you are and where you're going after you die. Nobody has time for that, okay? I do. So I like to share. I'll give you the secrets of the universe. What does that even mean? Like, let's get down to the nitty-gritty here. What would be the solution? What would be like if you had a chance tomorrow to attend some university or seminar where it's just advocated by everyone who knows, everybody's on board, just attend, go to this stadium or tune in to PayPal, whatever you have, and you're going to get everything that science has ever wanted to know about. You're going to learn it all. It's going to be given to you in totally assimilable form, and everybody's going to walk out of there just, you know, what's that going to be like? Well, that's called a Gedanken experiment. I'm not sure Einstein engaged in this type, but it's just a projection to fish around in the dark, going out in the cloud, look around, what can we figure out? Well, you're going to have to use your imagination. Well, here's a good way you can extrapolate your imagination. 5 seconds after you're stone cold dead, what are you? Well, you could ask science a long time. You're just going to get a nod, just, we don't know. We have no idea. Well, then what good are you? You can't even tell us what's going to happen to us for the next 1,000 years as individuals. What are you doing? Well, the universe is expanding and you're from amoebas and monkeys. Okay, I got all that. I don't believe any fucking word you say anymore because you're building bombs and bullets. So why should I believe you? Oh, because we give you electricity. Well, then you might want to sit up and take notice. I like electricity. I like computers. So I can't say much against science there. Well, that's not science. It's part of science. It's called technology. So there is a good side to stuff. We can make our lives better. Well, you know that by now the Earth should have been totally at peace. We should be working together, totally happy. But you know what the problem is? somebody's going to get their head blown off by accident in moving something. There's going to be a lawsuit and then family wars, and then you call the mafia, get them back on board. We need to kill all these people who are killing our puppies. And there goes the peace, you know, it just erupts everywhere, it starts over. Pretty soon people are just slaughtering each other wholesale to get control of the resources again, because these monsters are using it wrong. Hey, you get a Vatican, God says this, God says that, let's kill, kill, kill. And meanwhile, have we reached the stars yet? No, but we still know that we must. And, you know, it's not going to really get better. Not for the next 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or 100,000 years. Because no matter how good the technology gets, it's not going to change what actually happens to you. You are going to die. You're going to die. I'm sorry. I'm not, but I'm just saying so you know that I sympathize, because I'm going to die. Well, what do you have to say about that? Well, because nothing is going to matter unless you know the answer to that. So why do we do science? Well, you could say in a practical, pragmatic sense, why not? I have no answer to that, so there's that. Make bullets, make bombs, make fighter planes, make jets that drop bombs on humans, make gigantic aircraft carriers to defend the coasts of whatever coast you're defending, and just make sure you just try to control all the countries like Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, do something about Russia, take a good look at China, keep them in your scopes. North Korea, God knows, Pakistan has nuclear weapons. Israel has nuclear weapons. You check the history books, how the fuck did they get back on the map? Well, you got a long haul ahead of yourself trying to figure out all that stuff going on to destroy this planet and keep us monkeys, which you know you've been trained that you're a monkey. So where do I fit in? What do I offer? Well, there's bin and binah. There are two more words in Holy Scripture, the wisdom books, which were not written for or to the Jews. The Jews just happened to get hold of the 5 wisdom books. We have no idea how many wisdom books there were, because we know now that the Jews redacted the entire thing. We're missing several sections of Genesis. The rest of like Exodus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, that whole thing, Leviticus, just the history books, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, 1st and 2nd Kings, boring, boring, boring. More about the Jews, the Jews, the Jews, the Jews, more Jews. And then, what are they good for? They produce prophets. The prophets are extremely good. We don't know how much of that writing is lost, because the Jews had control of the prophetic writings too. And the stuff that they let through somehow, let slip through the cracks, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, all the rest. Well, what happened to those prophets? They must have been honored above all men by their own people. No, each and every one of them was mercilessly slaughtered. Yeshua said that, and to prove he meant business, he took the next walk and was crucified by the group mind of the Israeli nation, which by then was down to one tribe, the Yudins. That's why they're called Jews, not Israelis. And the name of Israel is obviously a fake. That is the nation of Judah. But is it the real nation of Judah? Not the way it was originally constituted. This Judah was reconstituted by the nation of the Soviet Union under the control of the Bolshevik communists. They're the ones who sponsored Israel. And they got their cronies in New York to go along with it. Because America at the time was controlled by the Protestants. Who had been brainwashed with another harebrained notion that the Jews are part of God's plan. I believe that that can be proved from history. The Jews were part of Hitler's plan, and obviously God had some control over Hitler. We're pretty sure we know what God's plan for the Jews was before Israel was put back on the map. But it was necessary to kill 6 million of their own people in order to reestablish the nation right there at the edge of Palestine, where there's still some 3 million. They're not even slaves, they're just prisoners. And of course, Iran doesn't really like that. And therefore, the United States is strangling the life out of the oldest nation on earth and thinks that it's going to get away with it. Well, depending on what the final script reads, there is no question at all that the United States government has to have that oil. Saudi Arabia is already doomed. Right now, they're our allies, but that doesn't matter, because when push comes to shove and you got to have the oil, there goes Saudi Arabia, and there goes Iran. There goes the world. Right now, we have a little diversion in Ukraine. Ukraine is always being invaded. You don't know anything about the Holodomor because you were raised in the United States, and if you've heard of it, it's only by accident, and you've probably forgotten about it by now. But 10 years before the Holocaust, and just to remind ourselves here, what was the Holocaust? Allegedly, up to perhaps as many as 6 million Judens were murdered in cold blood by the Hitler Nazi regime, right? It took about 4 years to get 6 million. It took only 2 years to kill 10 million Ukrainians 10 years earlier. How come that didn't make a splash? Because it's Ukraine. Who gives a fuck? It was hidden from the world. Even though the British government found out about it, the United States Secret Service found out about it, it was not allowed to go out to the public. But when the Holocaust was exposed, that dominated the minds of all Americans for the next 30 years. And that's how Israel got back on the map. You like that? That's your idea of a fun-filled, fun-packed story? Go to Palestine and check the slum camps. And maybe you won't feel so excited about it from your comfy chair. The war in Ukraine is killing actual people. Is that due to Putin? If you think so, it's because you're retarded. You're supposed to be retarded. That's the whole meaning of being an American, is you're the stupidest asshole on earth. You're rich, and all you do is complain. And buy puppies, so you can feel as good as Hitler did about his own humanity, while you're responsible one way or the other for the actions of your nation that you think you support. Well, to quote an old poet, how wonderful it is to project the future of your own country right down to its demise at the edge of the pit when your country is drowned like a rabid dog. And that's the future of the United States of America. The only thing worse than America being overrun by some other country and just erased would be for America to win. You want this strip mall country to win, whose national sport is a football game where everybody looks like homos, and they fire a turd right out of their ass. They all wear helmets so you can't read their faces. They're obviously military, and that's America to you? You're retarded. You're a brute. You're a moron, okay? That's what you are. So why do you care about science? You better start asking yourself some harsh questions, because you're going down first. Nothing's going to stop your death, and nobody can tell you what happens after that. So what's your answer to that, wise guy? Care to make a bet on that, Mr. Betting Man? Or would you rather bet on the ponies? You care about Ukraine. You don't care about anything. So that's our little introduction to our sequence today. What comes after bin and binah? A secret word which I cannot reveal to you, but it is a conjugation of the word bin. Bin is knowledge, binah is understanding, then there's a secret one. That's the one I've been teaching you, and I'm going to teach you again right now, but I'm not going to tell you the word because you're not ready for it. And then there's the fourth one. This is bin, binah, secret word, chokmah. Chokmah is wisdom. Wisdom is for you alone. Your scientists will never achieve it. They don't even know what it is. And if they stumbled on it and discovered it, they deny it and never let that information get out. So whatever wisdom is, it's up to you to find it and use it correctly. But you can't unless you follow the sequence. First you need knowledge, then you need to synthesize it to understanding. Then you need the third secret word, and then you have a shot at wisdom. And wisdom is personified in the holy wisdom books. And perhaps this is boring to you. I would expect so. I hope so. I hope you drop out and never come back. If you're not interested in this, it's because it never was for you. And you can go back to your football and your pretend war in Ukraine. You can favor the Jews or you could hate the Jews or do whatever you want with the Jews, but you're never going to matter. Not even to yourself. You don't care? Good. Bye-bye, sweet Charlotte. But if you are looking for the way out, the solution to the ultimate paradox of death and afterlife, we have the answer here for you. You use logic. It will come to a paradox that you cannot answer, but the key to this is to get the paradox that cannot be answered, that is the final paradox, so that then you can be absolutely, totally, soul-wrenchingly confused. But you're confused over the right thing. Thing is a scientific word for when you don't really find another word for thing. So, the final solution for you, this would also be for me, so just to make this a little more comfortable, I'll just talk about myself as a typical example of someone who comes to the edge of the cliff, but it's not just any cliff, it's the cliff, where you have 1 foot over the bottomless abyss, and now you have to decide, what happens when I fall? Do you know? Do you care? Do you think that there's an answer? Well, the rational mind demands an answer. But in order to get to the point where you could get an answer to an insoluble question, you're going to need supernatural help. And then you're on your own. Science cannot follow you. You might say you're going towards God or the great light, or you're just expanding existentially until you're a giant amoeba that can't die. God only knows what you're thinking at that moment. That's the whole point, Charlie. God alone knows what you're thinking at that moment, and that could be your very first contact with superintelligence, which has been divined by science. No one's ever going to tell you that except I do. I tell you that superintelligence has been discovered and proved to exist. So there is a super-rational being. It's not a thing. It's something that's bigger than a human in every sense, because there wouldn't be humans without a template. So there's your answer. Is that an answer? It's a bit of information. It's a bit of knowledge. Do you understand what it means? Here's where understanding comes in. Okay, you say. Let's hypothetically assume that there is superintelligence, super rationality, perhaps even super emotional. That would explain in an inductive way how we got our emotional system. That does include love, by the way. That is an irrational emotion, love. Well, that's from a template. How do you force love? You have to have it. Do you go buy a prostitute? No, that's not really love. Do you get into a marriage and sign up with the United States or whatever country authorizes marriages? No, that's not love. Homosexuals get married when they're opposite sexes to protect themselves, so marriage is just for convenience. Prostitutes are just for convenience. Most girlfriends are just for convenience, and vice versa. But what is love? You may not really know what love is until you look deep into the eyes of your puppy while it's licking your face, and then you, for that split second, experience love. Whatever you think it is, it's irrational. You can't figure it out. You can't go buy it on the open market. You either know about it or you don't. And so we all pretend that we all know what love is. And then do we ever suffer the torments of hell? You just wish you had never heard of love. It's so much better to be Conan the Barbarian and just go bat people over the heads to defend your nation. Because you have to defend yourself. You know where you got that idea that you have to defend yourself? That's from natural selection evolution. That's part of survival. You're surviving. For what? Well, only a rational man asks a stupid question like that because your friends, your peers, those that teach you religion, philosophy, or science, they don't give a shit about what it means. They're just trying to make a living. They're trying to survive. All of your scientists that broadcast on the internet right now are doing so 100% to get money. Okay? If that's what you want, you're listening to the wrong guy. For one thing, I don't ask for money. I barely have enough money to live. I don't care about money. Anyone who knows me knows that I just don't care about money. And if you don't care about money, you'd better hide, because then everyone's going to come after you. He doesn't care about his money. Well, they do, and they know exactly what to do with the money that you don't want. They'll steal it because you're an idiot. So I live alone and make these broadcasts to an audience that will never exist and will never actually materialize. You know why I do this? Because I made a vow to the truth that I would just do nothing. No more Bible, no more God, no more name of God, no more Jesus, no more anything that can't be proved in a fucking scientific court of law. What do we actually know about heaven? Well, it's pretty big, it's pretty complex, and it has all the hallmarks of the beauty of the Creator. The spiral galaxies, the interacting spirals. The misnamed black hole is actually the holy birthplace of all the galaxies in the universe come from black holes. The things that are called black holes are a misformulation of linear algebra with a zero at the center that's supposed to make the Schwarzschild radius, the time horizon, that just sucks reality in to a zero that does not exist, as I've proved. So what is the black hole? It's the remnant of a gravitational anti-collapse. That produces a quasar, which then produces a double radio-lobed active galactic nucleus, and then forms one or more spiral galaxies, or it just pops into an elliptical galaxy. And that's where everything in the universe comes from. There is no need for a Big Bang, although there might have been such a thing. The only rational thing to say about that is that it can't possibly matter, and it doesn't matter. But what does matter is the geometry of the universe, exploding from black holes, perhaps originally exploding from something akin to a black hole. The reason I focus on the black hole is because it's the dominant form in the universe, and it's an anti-gravitational object. It's anti-gravity, because those things explode. And what's left over after the exploding, we don't have a word for it, but it's essentially a quasar. A black quasar. The black hole is what's left over after the explosion of a black quasar. A black quasar, when it explodes, becomes luminous, and it's the most luminous object in the universe by far. So there's your introduction to astrophysics. That's 36 minutes. That's enough for now. There are two paths that we need to go down from now on if we're going to get the answers that you and I want from the universe to solve the problems in our own life, which is the only problem that's absolutely critical, because if you don't solve your own equation, nothing else matters. So you're going to need to concentrate now on love. The blueprint of love. To tear you in half the right way. You will have to lose your mind, but if it's done correctly, under the auspices of the cosmos, you will not only survive, you will evolve. And that's the only truth that's ever been that's worth saying anywhere today. That's what you need, but in the meantime, we're studying science. We're not going to get philosophical, except we're forced to. If you're going to enter the realm of philosophy, enter it at the right gate. Love. You're going to have to figure it out. What is love? What keeps us going through this horror? The world is actually hell. There is no other hell except what you're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. How do you live with yourself, knowing that billions of innocent people have already been slaughtered? They're in the grave, but now you're alive, so that makes you important. Only if you believe in the Superman, we're going to the stars superstition. That's what you're being trained to by Elon Musk and all the physicists. None of them realize that's what they're doing. This is under the control of a group mind, which has been forming practically forever. The fat lady's about to sing. Don't get caught with your pants down. Be sure that you're ready for the inevitable. Love has a lot to do with it. It will be the secret that gets you out of hell. Until then, we're going to talk about the rational truths of the universe, because that's how God teaches you how to think. I just told you a little bit about the black hole and the Big Bang, the structure of the universe, which I have solved. So if you want the real answers, tune in, because from now until Christmas, we're going to be divulging the deepest secrets that have ever been revealed to the mind of man through science or any other means, such that you can actually know it. You don't have to guess anymore. This is Anagalactic. We'll be right back. Keep looking up. That's how you're going to take the shortcut. Yeshua told you to look up. The Prophet all but told you to look up. The Arabs, the Persians, the great Islam nations are well known for their devotion to astronomy. And the man whose name I mentioned in conjunction with Yeshua, Abraham, he was an astronomer. The friend of God, the only man who's ever been called the friend of God. Jesus talked about Abraham exclusively. The prophets were all murdered. Abraham was not murdered. Abraham was saved. So if you want to be saved, astronomy is under the auspices of the Almighty. Until you start doing that, you're going to need to listen to me. I don't recommend that, but there's no one else that'll tell you the truth. So look up and study the night sky so that you will be enlightened, and when it's your time to go, you'll follow Yeshua to where he went. And if you don't believe that, you're back to football and Ukraine. And good luck with that. May Allah watch over you. May the Great One of Israel and all nations bless you and take you into his bosom, that you be welcome for all eternity or some greater part than we're experiencing now. I wish that for you, because I wish it for myself. May it be yours. May you be found worthy in the day of judgment. Amin, Aman, Amen. Stay tuned. This is Anagalactic.